let us start with this. So let me just start our Eclipse. Okay, so we are done with a lot of things, and the one thing that was left was Internet Explorer driver, right? So let us just start with this first, and then we would be moving on to other things, right? And here, just a second. So my Eclipse is taking a little bit time to start. It usually doesn't take. And so everyone done with the dynamic browsers exercise? Okay, so let us just create a new project, right? And this is day 3. So what all things we are going to do in this, let's see that. So today we would be starting off with interfaces, what interfaces are, and say what is the need of interface and how we can make use of interfaces, right? For that, let us just quickly start with the interfaces first, and I'll be moving on to Internet Explorer driver when we'll be starting off with Selenium part. Okay, so here let us just finish creating this. This is created. Now you may notice that there is a project open. We don't need that project, right? We don't need day 2 project to be open. We are not even working on it. So whenever we are not working on any project, the best thing is to do that, close the project, right? The benefit is that I'll let you know in some time. Now if I close this project and there is only one project open which I'm working on, if I go to the problems tab tells us a lot of things. Whenever there is a code issue, it immediately tells us. Even if there is a warning, even if there is an error, it tells us, right? It only it doesn't tell us about the logical errors, but yes, if there is a code error, yes, it will be telling us, right? So over here, let us just create a new class. And why class, right? If you notice something, you may have got some other information as well. New interface, right? So let us just create an interface. Now in interface, let us just consider a name phone, right? So let us just create a phone interface, and here what we would be doing is we would be specifying few things. For example, in this interface I would like to have a method, say public void, say I'd like to have a method call, right? So call. Apart from this, let us just have another method created. So public void SMS, right? Now over here we can call and we can SMS, right? But the thing is, right now, just a second. Voice is echoing. Okay, just a second, let me just cross check something. Is the voice okay now? Is the voice okay now? Okay. So over here, the thing is, we have this interface, right? Now let me just create a diagram that would be easy for you guys to understand. Now suppose we have a phone, right? And the image is not clear. Suppose we have a phone, right? Every phone has a feature. What feature? Right? Say it has a feature of calling and SMS, right? Now consider this phone as a iPhone, right? Now I have another phone. Suppose it is not an iPhone, it is some other phone. Say it is OnePlus, right? So OnePlus phone. Now it also has a feature of call and SMS. Now in the another say someone else also have a phone, right? Say this is the phone. Now this one is Samsung. right? This phone also have the same feature, call and SMS, right? Now the thing is that all of these companies are implementing these features in their own ways, right? iPhone has a phone dialer, OnePlus has a phone dialer, Samsung has a phone dialer. When you dial a number, your call gets connected. But what's happening inside is different. The major thing is you are able to call, right? Now the thing is these may have other things as well, but the basic criteria is every phone should have a call and SMS feature. For example, these phones have their own set of features, right? But in every phone something is common. Everyone is able to say send a SMS, receive SMS, and send calls and receive calls, right? So these are the two things that everyone is able to do on any of the phone, even if it is a feature phone as well, right? Now this means that there is some standard, right? Now what is that standard? So what we do is in case of Java, what we do is we specify a standard, right? For example, in case of these phones, say phone 1, phone 2, phone 3 and phone 4, right? Now over here all these phones should have something that is call and SMS. So if I tell that this class should have phone and SMS, this class should have phone and SMS, this class should have phone and SMS, and this class should have phone and SMS, I can do that, right? The benefit is that in case if I want to make use of this phone, I would be able to. In case I would want to make use of this phone, I would be able to. And in case of say I want to use any of these phones, I would be able to, right? Now this means that interface provides us something that is a base, right? Or you can say that it sets the protocol that these are the two things that need to be there, right? Now over here we have created an interface. Now what I'll do is I'll create a new class, and the class name is Apple iPhone, right? Or Apple phone. So over here Apple phone is the class which should do one thing. See, I can specify the methods here, public, say void, call and all, right? But what we would be doing is we would be creating something, we would be specifying something with the class so that we don't have to manually specify all the methods. What we can do is we can simply specify implements, say phone, right? Now the moment I specify this thing, this will tell us that there is a issue, right? What is the issue? Add unimplemented methods. The type Apple phone must implement the inherited abstract method phone.call and phone.sms, right? These two things are added. Now I can have my own thing here. See, I can describe the method here. Whatever method we have, we can describe that what it does, right? For example, we can print Apple or say call using iPhone, right? And in the same way I'll be printing out something here that is SMS using iPhone. And I have made a mistake. What mistake? I forgot to add quotes, right? SMS using iPhone, right? This is done. Now suppose there is another manufacturer who is also creating a phone, right? And say that manufacturer is OnePlus phone, right? So OnePlus is also doing something that is they have to do actually. They are also implementing phone, right? Now the moment they implement phone, they need to do something. They need to add unimplemented methods that they haven't, right? So what we'll be doing is we'll be adding those unimplemented methods. And here, why it is not suggesting me anything right now? What has happened? Let me just save phone first. Sometimes these kind of issues happen with Eclipse. Okay, so add unimplemented methods. Now this is done. Now again, in the same way, I would be adding some stuff. For example, this time I will be printing, say, calling through, say, OnePlus phone, right? And in the same way, I would be printing SMS through OnePlus phone, right? So SMS through OnePlus phone, right? Now let us just create another, for example, Samsung, right? So there is another manufacturer, Samsung, who also needs to implement the same interface, right? Now you can create class simply, or you can specify the interfaces here as well. So click on add interfaces. Now it won't show any interface. You need to type the name phone. Done. Double click here, click on OK, click on finish. This is done. Now it will automatically add the methods that you have to add manually, right? So system.out.println, and here say call through Samsung phone, right? Pretty simple. Now in the same way, we'll have the method here for SMS as well. So SMS through Samsung phone. This was pretty normal. Now the next thing is we'll create a class that will be test phone, right? Now we'll be testing phones here. Now here, first of all, we need the main method. In this, we would be working with the phones. For example, let us just first work with Apple phone. Apple phone, iPhone equals to new Apple phone, right? This is the way we declare a class. This is the way we say create a new object, right? Now over here, I can call these methods. This means that iPhone dot call would be calling in the call method, then iPhone dot SMS would be calling in the SMS method. Control F11 is the shortcut key which I use to execute the code, and as you can see that the code is executed, call using iPhone, call using say SMS using iPhone, right? This is what we wanted. Now over here, say let us just get something more specific, right? Done, right? Now over here, Apple phone is working. Now let us just try some other phone. Say OnePlus phone, O phone equals to new OnePlus phone. Done. O phone dot call, O phone dot SMS. Control F11. You guys would notice something. It is printing call using iPhone, SMS using iPhone, then call using OnePlus phone, and SMS using OnePlus phone. Fine, right? Now the third phone is Samsung phone, right? So Samsung phone, S phone equals to new Samsung phone, and see the methods are same, right? S phone dot call, then S phone dot SMS, right? Now if I work with it, it will be printing in the things that I wanted it to, right? But what's the difference? We are already doing these things normally. Then what is the benefit of using interface? Now, right now, if you guys notice something, I'm using the class name as the object reference, right? Now what we would be doing is, instead of using the class name, what if I use the say interface name? So say phone, iPhone, then phone, O phone, and phone, Samsung phone, Control F11. Now let's see whether we get an output or not. So over here we have got the output: call using iPhone, SMS using iPhone, call using OnePlus phone, SMS using OnePlus phone, call using Samsung phone, and SMS using Samsung phone. This means that this is working fine. But the question is how it is possible. Can I do something else? For example, can we mix and match things? For example, if I do Samsung phone, say new phone equals to say new OnePlus phone. See, I can try to declare, but if you guys notice something, it is telling me that there is a trouble. Change the type of new phone to OnePlus phone, right? There is a type mismatch. OnePlus phone cannot be matched with Samsung phone. Then how it is getting matched with say phone, right? Phone is an interface which OnePlus phone implements. This means that phone can call the methods created by it, right? Defined by it. So phone has defined two methods, call and SMS. We can say call these methods here, right? Now let us just make it something dynamic, right? So what I'll do is I'll create a method here. I'll create a variable here first. Say string phone equals to Apple, right? So if it is Apple, then what it should do, say if the condition is phone dot equals, what it should be equal to, say Apple. If it is Apple, then it should be initializing something, say Apple phone, right? But what we can do now is we can specify something to make it more dynamic. Phone new phone, right? And I won't declare any value here. I'll just specify something here. Okay, so new phone equals to new say Apple phone, right? I can do this. Now if it is not there, then else if block phone dot equals to, right? Now next thing is say it should be equal to either Apple, either OnePlus. So OnePlus new phone equals to new OnePlus phone, right? Now this line has been added. In the same way, else if block for a Samsung phone, right? So phone dot equals say Samsung phone, right? So if it is equals to Samsung phone, then new phone equals to new Samsung phone. I know it is a bit confusing thing and a bit boring thing as well, but now see, we are just declaring it, but right now it is just telling us that it may not be declared. So what we need to do, we just need to specify something equals to null. Till then the object is not initialized, it should be null. First thing done. Now let us just make use of new phone, right? Say new phone dot call and new phone dot SMS, right? Now methods are specified here. Notice this thing, I've specified the methods here. I've not specified the methods inside the if condition. Control F11. Now you guys would notice something. It is printing call using iPhone and SMS using iPhone. What if I change the value here? Say OnePlus. If I run this now, it will be printing call using OnePlus phone, SMS using OnePlus phone. This means that we can make use of interfaces wherever we can. The benefit is that it allows us more dynamics, right? Now, OnePlus has a feature, right? That is, say, public and say the method name is, the feature name is, say, Google Maps, right? It has Google Maps inbuilt, right? Now, over here, we can print, say, native Android maps. Okay. Now, Apple phone also has a mapping feature, right? So public and method name is, say, Apple maps, right? Now system.out.println, say Apple maps, or say native iPhone feature, right? Now I have specified something that is, say, unique to a particular class only. Now would I be able to call this Apple Maps method or OnePlus say Google Maps method? Let us just see that. So going back to test phone, now I'll enable all of these, right? And I'll disable this part of code, we don't need it for a while, right? Now for example, Apple has a method Apple Maps. So iPhone dot Apple Maps. Where is that suggestion? It is not showing us a suggestion. But when I change it to Apple iPhone, now if I try to get a suggestion, yes, it is showing me Apple Maps. In case if I change it back to phone only, right? If you guys notice something, again it is causing us trouble. The method Apple Maps is undefined for the type phone. Phone is a reference which does not have any method named as Apple Maps, right? So it will call only and only those methods which are defined by the interface itself. It won't be calling in any method which is not defined by the interface. Let us just try something else. OnePlus phone, right? ophone dot Google Maps. Again, if you guys notice something, the method is not showing up. But the moment I change this to OnePlus phone, right, the error is gone. The moment I change it to Apple phone, the error is gone. If I run these, now we would be able to run these, right? And you guys can see that everything is executing accordingly, right? Now, what is the benefit of having these interfaces? The benefit is that they tell us that these are the basic things that we need, and we can actually create classes surrounding it, right? Now over here, let us just go to the official documentation of Selenium, right? So if we go to selenium.dev or seleniumhq.org, these are say selenium.dev is the new website, seleniumhq.org was the older website. Now over here, if we go to the downloads, in the downloads section, if we scroll down, we saw something that is API docs. Let us just go to the API docs once again, right? Now over here in the API docs, we saw something that was, say, ChromeDriver, right? Now ChromeDriver is somewhere over here. So GHI ChromeDriver, right? This is what we used in the last lecture. Now if you notice something, ChromeDriver extends something, remote WebDriver, right? And it implements something that is WebDriver. It implements WebDriver interface, right? This means that there are some methods defined by the WebDriver interface, right? So let us just move to WebDriver first. So over here, this is an interface WebDriver. Now, whenever you're reading a, say, Java doc, anything which is in normal text is a class. Anything which is in a italicized text is a interface, right? For example, if I scroll to the bottom, say WebDriver, it is an interface. That is why it is in italics, right? Now it is an interface WebDriver. It has few things. If we scroll down, you guys can see that these are the methods: close, find element, find elements, get. Get is the method that we used, right? This is the method that we made use of. Now there are other methods as well that we would be learning one by one whenever they are needed, right? Now over here, how we can dynamically work with the browsers, right? Is there any easiest way? Let us just try that. Now over here, let us just do one thing. Let me just create a new class, say dynamic browsers, right? So dynamic browsers. So in dynamic browsers, what we would be doing is, first of all, let us just have a main method. Okay, so main method is added. Now here in main method, what we would be going to do is, we would be having something specified, that is browser name. So string browser name, right? Now what is the browser name? The browser name is, say, Chrome, right? Now I have the browser name with me, that is Chrome, right? But before starting off Chrome, what if I would want to have this dynamic? I can change the value here, right? Now let us just try creating a say conditional statement for it. But first, what we need to do? Now we need to initialize WebDriver, right? But it is not suggesting me anything. Why? The reason is that we have not added Selenium jars, right? Right click over the project, go to properties, then go to Java build path, then go to libraries, click on add external jars, and add all these jar files that you have, right? And make sure that you add all the jar files. Do not leave even a single jar, otherwise your code would not work and you won't even get to know that what was the issue, right? So over here, this is done. Now WebDriver driver. Now let us just do one thing. Let us just first try something, that is whether it is opening the browser or not. New, say Chrome driver, right? Control F11. Now it may work, it may throw an error. Let us just see that what it does. So over here, browser is opening, and you guys can see that it has taken us to this particular page, right? Now you guys may be confused how the browser got opened, right? We did not specify one line, right? That is system.setProperty line. How did it work? How the things like started working fine, right? So over here, now what we would be doing is, we would be specifying something that would be good for us. So what I'll do is, I'll open environment variables, right? Edit the system environment variables, go to environment variables, and here look up for the path variable. For example, this is my path variable, right? Now over here, I have added this path, that is A essentials WebDriver path, right? Now let us just go to this path what you can do is you can create a folder inside your system, and you can add up all these executable files there. So let us just go to Essentials, then WebDriver, and you guys can see that right now there is nothing. Then how it is picking up the drivers? Strange. Just a second, guys. I may be having something here. No. It's strange, it is picking up my drivers even if I don't have any drivers there. Okay, let us just do one thing. Let us just move these drivers to that location. So that should be inside WebDriver location. Okay, now drivers are here. Now we would be able to deal with the, say, browsers, right? All you have to do is that move all the executable files in a directory, copy that path, create an say go to an environment variable, add the path to the path variable, just like this, right? And you're done. Nothing else needs to be done. Okay, so over here, once you're done with this, you can start working with the browsers. In case Eclipse doesn't find your driver, no need to worry. You can simply start a driver, say restart your Eclipse, and you can start working with it. Okay, now let me just cross check something. Say ChromeDriver.exe. Data essentials. I just added it right now. Maybe the file was not deleted properly earlier. Okay, so over here this has been added. Now we can work with these. So I'll just close this, and here now we can work with it. See, the thing is WebDriver driver equals to new Chrome driver, right? I can change the browser, say Firefox driver, control F11, it will open Firefox browser, right? Just a simple thing is changed and the browser is changed, right? Now let us just say do one thing. Let us just create a conditional stuff for it. Okay, so WebDriver driver equals to null for a while, then if condition is browser name dot equals, not content equals, dot equals, right? What it should be equal to? Chrome. Now whenever it should be equal to Chrome, we will be having the code for Chrome. Now else if browser name dot equals to, this time it should be Firefox, right? Done. Then else if, and say browser name dot equals dot say IE. Okay, so let us just specify these things now. Driver equals to new, say Chrome driver. Make sure that you add the brackets after specifying the driver name, in case they are not added manually or automatically, right? So driver dot equals, and not driver dot equals, driver equals to, see, I was about to make a mistake, and driver equals to new Firefox driver. Done. Now over here the last thing, Internet Explorer driver. So driver equals to new Internet Explorer driver, right? This is done. Now after opening the browser, the first thing we would want to do is say go to a web page. So driver dot get which page we would want to go to. Say we would want to go to a page https www.facebook.com, right? Control F11. Let us just try running this code and let's see what happens. Now you guys can see that Chrome is opening and it will be taking us to facebook.com, right? Now over here, this is done. Now let us just close this. Okay. Now the next thing is I'll just change the browser name. What if I set it to IE, right? Control F11 and here we can open Internet Explorer, right? If you guys notice something, last time I configured my Internet Explorer to work with Selenium, right? We just disabled protected mode and it started working for us, right? What if I don't want to go to say facebook.com? I would want to go to some other website. Say driver dot get https www.google.co.in, right? Control F11. Now it will be first taking us to facebook.com, then after that it will be taking us to google.com, right? So over here it may take time depending on the page to page, right? Now you guys can see that we are being taken to google.com, which is fine for us, right? This is what we wanted. All we have to do is that change the value here, Firefox. Okay, so Firefox. This time it will open Firefox, right? Now if you guys notice something, we are working with the Selenium code, right? We are able to open the browser. Can we close the browser with the Selenium code as well? Let us just see that. So over here, whenever we would want to close the browser instance that we were working on, we can simply specify driver dot quit. Okay, so driver dot quit. Now if I run this, what it will do is it will open the browser, it will perform all the actions that I want it to, and then in the ending it will simply close the browser, right? Now you guys can see that over here browser would be closing anytime soon, and you guys can see that browser has closed, right? Can this be done in other browsers? Let us just see that. So Chrome, Control F11. Let us just see whether it works for Google Chrome or not. So over here Google Chrome is opening, that is okay, but the main thing is whether it should be able to say close the browser in the ending or not. It is able to. Now there is left one thing, that is the last browser, that is InternetExplorerDriver, right? Control F11, the shortcut key that I always use to execute the code, right? Now you guys can see that the same thing, the plain old code, plain old execution, but in the ending it will be closing down the browser. This is what we wanted and this is what it is doing for us as well, right? So browser is closed. Now you guys might have noticed something. Every time I'm starting a browser, it is just giving us some logs, something in red, right? These are not the errors, these are not the exceptions, these are the logs provided by the WebDriver, right? For example, in case of Internet Explorer driver, these are provided by IE driver server, right? In case of Firefox browser, these logs are provided by Gecko driver, right? And in case of Chrome browser, these logs are provided by ChromeDriver. Now it depends how many logs you're getting, right? These are simply the debug logs, so that in case if we are facing issues with the browser, right, we can see those issues here, right? In case if you would want to disable them, we'll be learning them that very soon, that how we can disable these logs as well, right? Now over here we are done opening the browser, right? We are done dynamically opening the browser as well, right? So let us just go back to syllabus and let's see what's left. Okay, so we are done with interfaces, need of an interface, concept of an interface, use of interfaces in Selenium, WebDriver interface, right? Let us just mark all these as done. Now the next thing is exception handling, right? We already learned something about exceptions. Let us just see that again, right? So over here, I am pretty sure that I don't have any driver for Opera browser added, right? So say else if browser name, right, dot equals, not content equals. Why it gets me to equal content equals all the time, right? Equals what it should be equals to Safari. Now I cannot have Safari browser in my system, but yes, Safari knows that there is a browser somewhere, right? Not in my system, but there may be browser in some other machine. So they have to make the code for that. So driver equals to new. So how many suggestions we are getting right now, right? We are not getting any suggestion apart from these three browsers, but we need to see that whether Safari is supported or not, right? So over here we can see the implementing classes here. ChromeDriver, if you guys notice something, Safari driver is supported, ChromeDriver, Edge driver, then event firing WebDriver, Firefox driver, Internet Explorer driver, Opera driver, remote WebDriver, and Safari driver. Chrome is for Chrome, Edge is for Edge browser, event firing WebDriver is for special purposes, Firefox driver is for Firefox browser, Internet Explorer driver is for Internet Explorer, Opera for Opera, remote WebDriver for all the browsers to be executed in grid, right? We will be learning Selenium grid, so this is very important for us, right? And then Safari driver. So let us just do one thing. Let us just add Safari driver, right? Now over here, this is done. Safari should be here as well. Now I'll simply execute this code. Okay, now you guys might have noticed something. There is an exception, WebDriver exception. Safari driver requires Safari 10 running on OS X L capital or greater, right? So this means that it is requiring something that we don't have right now, right? So over here the code won't work, right? Now what happens is that whenever we are getting any exception, it tells us the information from where we have got the exception, right? Now if we read it carefully, just a second, see, notice this now. It is not working here. Just a second. Okay, so over here notice few things now, right? Exception and thread main. First thing is WebDriver exception. This means that there is some problem with initializing the browser, right? Next thing, the message. Now this is the message. It is telling us that say browser is not here. Browser is not available for this particular OS, right? This requires Safari 10 running OS X El Capitan, right? It is not there with us, so it is throwing us trouble. Now the next thing is from where the trouble is coming, from which particular line this trouble is coming. If you start noticing it here, right? If you start reading this section, you'll find something very important. See the first line, driver info, driver.version.safari driver at this Safari driver service.java, then at, see this this got error, but it found error from here, right? The initial point from the error originated is this dynamic browsers dot main. Dynamic browsers is our class, right? Main is the method, right? Main. Line number 18. If you guys notice something, this is the line where I initialized my Safari browser, right? Now let us just have a code for Opera browser as well. So else if browser name dot equals why it is suggesting me content equals all the time. Okay, so equals equals, now what it should be equals to? Opera. Now the exception would be a little bit different this time. Driver equals to new Opera driver, right? Now over here, if I run this, control F11, right? Okay, one more thing, I need to specify this here, and I feel like there is some problem as well. Now this is fine, right? Control F11. Now this will throw in another type of exception. The path to driver executable must be set by this. Now the exception has changed. Earlier the exception was something for WebDriver, that Safari is not there. This time the exception is illegal state exception. Now exception is telling us that the path to the driver executable must be set by WebDriver.opera.driver, right? So we need to do that. Now we have not done this thing, so that is why we are not able to start the browser, right? What all things we need? See, with this exception, it is telling us that the problem is at line number 21. If I click here, it takes me to the line number 21. Now what is the solution to this problem? First solution is remove this part of code right now, or else if you have already got to know that what is the problem, let us just resolve it. So what we need, first of all, we need the Opera driver, right? So over here, driver, we have specified the Opera driver. Then there are two things, one of them need to be implemented. Either save the file in WebDriver directory or specify the path. Right? So one of these two things need to be done. Okay, and we would be able to deal with Opera browser as well, right? Now this is about exceptions coming up and we are getting to know about them, right? What happens sometimes is we are having some data and say still nothing is executed, right? I'll just add up a logical exception here. Control F11, no browser would open, right? So over here, what needs to be done? There is no browser which has opened. It is just telling us that, say, dynamic browsers line number 23, there is null pointer exception. Now null pointer exception comes up whenever the object is not created and assigned, right? This means that we have made a mistake somewhere and we forgot to assign the object, or we forgot to create the object, right? One of these things are there. Now suppose the lines of code are very high. We are not able to understand this issue here by clicking here. Then what needs to be done? Simply add up some breakpoints. For example, I'll add up a breakpoint here in line number 10 and 21. Right? Now let us just try debugging the code. F11 is the key that allows us to debug the code, and only F11 key. Do not make use of control key. Right? Hit F11 key, the code will start debugging and it wants us to switch to debugging perspective. Now we are inside the debugging perspective, and here now you guys can see that we are having few things here. The code has paused here, and right now we cannot see any variable here. But the moment I hit F6, we'll see that there is a variable browser name which has the value Opera. Right? Now let us just move next. This will go here, right? Driver equals to null right now, right? Now it tried comparing this browser name, right? Browser name was Opera, the value it should be equals to is Chrome. It is not. It will move forward. Then browser name is Opera, the value it should be equal to is Firefox. Again it is not equal. Hit F6, it will jump this line and it will move forward to the next else if condition, right? Now here again it is not matching. F6 next, then F6 next. Now the moment we reach here, if you guys notice something, it did not reach this particular part of code, right? Why? Because of the condition, right? Now over here driver is null. Driver was never initialized, right? This means that we got to know that the driver is not initialized because of the browser name. This means that we can cross check that whether there is an issue in the browser name, right? Now it is done. If I hit F6, we'll get an exception, right? Now what happens sometimes is, okay, I executed it accidentally. What happens sometimes is you are debugging the code and you're hitting F5 key accidentally. F5 key also does the same thing, but there is a difference now. F5 gets inside the method whenever there is a function, right? Now over here the function is for comparing, so it will be comparing stuff, right? So we don't want to get inside the things. So whenever you are doing debugging, always make use of F6 or F8 key only, right? Now what is the benefit of F8 key? It simply it executes the code till the next checkpoint. It executes the code normally, right? So this is how we can debug the code, and here we got to know that the error is at line number 10, which it was not telling us, right? So let us just rectify this issue. Control F11, this time it will execute normally, right? Again there is a issue because of the executable is missing, but if I specify Chrome, it will work normally, right? So this is how we can debug the code, and we can get to know about exceptions. What are the exceptions? In the coming lectures we would be learning more about other exceptions that we face, right? And what kind of issues that we usually face in Selenium, right? So this was the whole part about Java basics. Now from the next lecture we won't be dealing anything with Java. We will be mainly dealing with Selenium only. Whenever something is needed from Java, then we will be learning that, right? Now over here let us just go back and mark these two things as done. So everything is done here till now. Now in the next lecture what we will be doing? So in the next lecture we would be learning how Selenium works on the page source, how all the things are done by Selenium and how we can work with those things as well. And what we would be trying to do is we would be trying to have a scenario where we would be, say, performing some actions on the internet, right? We would be trying to click somewhere, we would be trying to type somewhere, right? So these are all the things that we would be trying to do in the next lecture, right? Thank you. Any queries, guys?